Nope. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Nope. Yeah.
Buenos dias. Good afternoon. My name is John Chamberlain, and I am the Historical Hustler. Got a couple thank yous that I'd like to get into really quick here before we get started. First, want to thank all of the healthcare workers, those individuals that are also in emergency response, and our public safety officers as well. I also want to give a shout out to all the teachers that are helping, adapting, and teaching their students. So hang in there, teachers. You're doing great. We love you too here at the Historical Hustler campus. I also want to thank some of our viewers from all over the country, from all four time zones within the continental United States. So thank you for those in Chicago and Indianapolis and Louisville and Tennessee, and to those in Illinois, the rest of the state of Illinois, and Colorado and Washington State. So we're doing good so far. Let's keep up the good work. So now that we got our thank yous out of the way, I want to make sure to thank our sponsors here. Our sponsors are nobody. Definitely not Sears. Rest in peace to them. And I'd also like to officially put JCPenney on death watch as well. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the lesson for today. This is part one of our election 2020 coverage. A very anticipated topic here in history, and right now our viewers are gonna love this coverage. So this is part one. This is like basically we're setting the table for the information on the election, and this is kind of get everybody a baseline of where things are at right now situationally, and I got some important questions here that we're going to get into right now. So number one, has there ever been an American election during a pandemic before? The answer is yes. This was a midterm election in 1918. And this was a serious epidemic during the pandemic, during the Spanish flu, which killed over 675,000 Americans. This peaked right during the election period, like right around October and November. So this is a very important lesson that we're going to go and take a look from to figure out what's going to happen here in the next election. So a couple things right off the top. Public speaking was limited. There were many important issues this year on the ballot in 1918, including women's suffrage and prohibition. So this was an important election that people wanted to go to. The polls were mostly open, right? Lots of people did not participate in the election, unfortunately, because they were scared of the Spanish flu for very good reason. It was a very deadly flu. Also, social distancing was used during this time. And masks were also used, so keep that in mind because you might see polls open in certain places here this November, and people will use those measures. Was there mail ballots? Somebody asked me that. Was there mail-in ballots? And mail-in ballots were not really used during this time. In fact, I read about a controversy that happened in the Dakotas, in that area of the country, where people were dropping off ballots and picking them up, and it was a big controversy. So I don't think we'll have that situation. Now, let's get into the candidates, right? Let's get into how this has affected them. So for starters, the second question is, how has the coronavirus impacted Trump and in his chances for victory, re-election in 2020? And it's impacted his chances. It's hurt him very badly, very badly. Let's look at our situation 3 months ago. It's a lifetime in politics, right? And 3 months ago, the economy was rolling, right? Unemployment rate was one of the lowest in history. And stock market was all-time high, right? Businesses were booming, construction was booming, housing was booming, everything was rolling 3 months ago. So this has really kind of wiped out those economic gains that's happened really within the last, during the two presidencies of Trump and Obama. So this one's hurt economically. How is his handling of the virus? how's that happened? How's that happening? Well, it's tough to tell, but public perception is really everything here, and most people, they don't believe he's handled it well, which gets into the impression is here. This is very important, determining Trump's outcome, because normally presidents that have great economies end up getting reelected, right? So in this particular case, that was wiped out. So people are going to look, okay, well, how did you handle the virus? How did you handle the situation? And there's a lot of questions here that the American public have about his response. And there's things that could have been done possibly different with testing and producing medical equipment and things of that nature, right? But what concerns most people, and it really concerns parents. I'm a parent of 4 myself. We got 4 little hustlers here at our campus. And he was spoken the other day. I went and I listened and I watched the. It was like a question and answer session that's happened, I believe, 2 days ago, where he was talking about ingesting chemicals like household products into human beings, and that's very dangerous. So that leads me to a quick public service announcement for you boys and girls at home. Don't do bleach, okay? Don't mess with that stuff. Don't mess with Lysol or anything like that. That's for cleaning houses. I'm going to leave it at that. All right, let's get into Biden. Okay, how's this situation affected Biden and his chances, right? Well, it's actually helped Biden, helped him a lot. And he basically got a bye throughout the primary season, Democratic primary season, and this unfortunate global pandemic comes up. So he's basically able to kind of just chill out and sit on the sidelines and not really have to go out in the public the light, I should say, and go out and do a lot of debating and speaking, and not a lot of commercials are needed to be put out right now. So he's basically able to sit on all this capital and sit back and watch Trump make unforced errors, which politically is really important for him. So it leads to a couple questions later. We're going to get into more analysis of like pathways to victory for each candidate in important states, and that's going to be like part 2, part 3 down the road. Right now, we just want to kind of establish what is the situation at the present time. And Biden's situation is actually pretty good compared to 3 or 4 months ago, where it didn't look too good for him then. It's going to be interesting to see what's his next move, right? Is he going to try to get Obama involved some way? So that's what I would be looking at in the future. So next important question here is, how will people vote in the next election? Well, that's going to be determined locally, right? Some parts of the country might be still affected with this pandemic at this time, or there might be another second wave, hopefully, that does not come out. But we have to think about those things. The Spanish flu, for example, taught us a very important lesson throughout history. There was 3 waves during the Spanish flu. So this thing could come back around again. I have friends in the medical profession, and they've discussed these concerns with me personally. So keep that in mind. So there's things that are going to happen, especially in politics, months or lifetimes. So there's a lot of time till November. We got to think about that. But some states could have polls open with those same types of conditions that were during the Spanish flu outbreak in 1918, right? Social distance measures, masks put on, right? Making sure that people that were working there that were safely wearing the safety gear, make sure they don't get sick by other people just voting. So it also could be done in mail. So the one here in Arizona, there are mail-in ballots. We've been doing it for a while, ever since I moved here, a decade and a half ago. So mail-in ballots could be used as well, and that could affect the outcome of the election, because it's a lot easier just to mail your ballot than it is to get up and wait in line. And so you're probably going to see mail-in ballots be used, even in states that maybe have not traditionally used them in the past. So that could make the outcome of the election, make people have to wait for the outcome longer, though. So instead of waiting hours or even days, you could be waiting weeks for an outcome with mail-in ballots. It's going to be interesting to see the logistical challenges and how those are handled by election officials once, if that transpires. So somebody else asked me, will the election be delayed? No, it's not. It's going to be at the first part of November, like it always is. There's a congressional mandate from 1845. So the election will go on. It might be different in different states and in different counties, and different preventative measures taken, and ballots will go in by mail, but it's on. It's happening. People are going to have some choices to make. And they're going to be able to make it, because the lesson from history here is in 1918, during the Spanish flu, when things were way, way worse, we still had an election. So keep that in mind, all you hustlers out there, that the election will take place for sure the first part of November. All right, well, another last part today before we wrap up. What's the mood of the country, right? That's going to determine the big outcome of the election, because this is very, very, very important. And right now, a lot of people are hurting, man. Small businesses are hurting. People are out of work. People are out of jobs. People are staying home. Their kids are home, you know? And it's important to understand that this is, this has some serious consequences. So people are always looking for somebody to put the blame on here. In a presidential election year, I think you know where people will be looking. So it's very important right now for both candidates, Trump and Biden, to figure out what the mood of the country is. Are people angry? Do they feel like they've been treated unfairly because there's been trillions spent, and yet small businesses and people that are hurting haven't really seen too much of that money, right? So how are people going to feel about that personally? Because a wise man once told me that people vote with their pocketbooks. And that's why if you would have asked me 3 months ago, 4 months ago, who was going to win the 2020 election, right? I would say Trump in a landslide. But this situation has changed everything. We might have a really competitive election on our hands. We might have a sitting president that had a fantastic economy 5-6 months ago, right? Be totally dethroned by this event due to his response and the perception of the American people. So this is going to be a historic election, no matter what. So let's wrap it up there for today. Thank you to everybody. We're going to be signing off here. So thanks again. I want to make sure to give a special shout out to all my students. I love you. I miss you. I'll see you guys soon. Okay, hang in there. All right. Peace.